Hey, it's Rich, the Louisiana Hobby Guy. Today we're going to be looking at the Genmitsu Jinsoku LC-40 5.5 watt laser. And I initially thought this was a 10 watt laser. So the first test that I ran on it, I was thinking that it was a 10 watt, and you know what? It performed flawlessly. So I was quite surprised by that. Now this is a brand new laser. It is brand new to the market, completely new design from the ground up. It's not, your typical laser engraver, your typical 5 watt laser engraver. It's made with C-channel, very similar to the X tool. It's a very heavy, beefy machine, all metal, no rollers, linear rails, real nice machine. Took me a little getting used to it at first to figure out what it was all about, because it was a beta model that I got a couple of months ago. So I've done a lot of testing on this machine, and we're just going to jump right into it today. And you're going to see some of the testing. You're going to see how it performed. You're going to see what I think of it. And in the end, I'll let you know what my final thoughts are on it. So with that said, let's jump right straight into the testing today. All right, so we're in the wood shop today, and we are looking at the Genmitsu. And I was kind of surprised when I opened this package, because I wasn't expecting an X tool type clone, but apparently that's what it is, or at least it looks like. Nice and solid. It came in 4 pieces with 2 bags of screws, so not much to put together, but very interesting assembly. So down here, if you wind up getting one of these, take note that those brackets go on top. It's kind of hard to, I didn't figure that out at first, but I am kind of puzzled about this system that they have here. There are no V wheels on here. There's some sort of a track. It looks like a railroad track kind of assembly. Not very smooth either, I can tell you that. Now, don't get me wrong. I could be wrong. This may be, something that you're not supposed to move by hand. But when I move it by hand, you can see it gets stuck. So, see that? It's not smooth at all. But that could very well be the way it's designed. I don't know. We're going to have to see when we fire this up. All in all, frame, excellent. One of the best I've seen. Cable management. Oh my gosh, I'm so impressed by this cable management. First company ever to have a laser with proper cable management. Everything is perfect. The way it fits, the coils, everything is absolutely perfect. No trouble with cable management whatsoever. This is the best cable management I have seen on a diode laser to date. Laser focusing head. I can't do this with one hand, but we'll give it a try. Nice, very easy to go up and down. Actually, I can do it with one hand. One knob right here in the front, and a handy dandy little stainless steel gauge that you'll never use on the inside there. So yeah, absolutely perfect. And one of the really nicest things about this that a lot of people are going to like is the fact that there are no timing belts to install. However, I did notice there is only one timing belt adjustment, only on this side. The other side does not have one. So I don't know if they forgot to put one on there, or what's going to happen if you need to replace the timing belt. But no timing belts whatsoever to assemble. They're built inside these units here, these side rails. And one of the things that you're going to have an issue with is the manual does not correspond to this machine. So take a good look at this. See, the steppers are in the back. That's where the control board is. This stepper is on the side, name up in the front. If you get all that down, this really was less than 15-minute assembly. Now, I did have one screw that stripped out without hardly any force, so that was a bad tap, but I'm not going to give him that. It is a solid machine, and it feels very square. I put my square on it. It was perfect. As long as those screws are lined up. All I did was put a dab of hot glue on the screw to hold it in place so it can't pivot. So it'll be fine like that. So yeah, the assembly's done. The one thing I really didn't like where these two screws go in here inside these channels. Well, I couldn't use my handy dandy magnetic screwdriver there. So I had to wind up using the Allen wrench, which makes it very hard to put in, but that's okay. Not a big deal. You can see how they go on this side. They're not in a channel over here. But okay, so there's the overview of the 15-minute build, easiest one I've ever put together. Easiest diode laser I've ever done. And let's go ahead and fire this baby up and see what she can do. All right, so here we go. We're gonna fire this up for the first time and see if it turns on. And there it goes. And I have to say, that was some pretty smooth operation. So, yeah, I'm going to say I was wrong. That gantry should not be moved by hand. I'm going to take a guess and say that because that was smooth. Really nice operation on the first startup. All right, so we're going to jump right into the universal test card, which you know I like to do on most of my lasers. This one did a little bit different. I took off the grayscale and I ran that one separately. I'll show that one to you later. And I put in some vector art here instead. So this is going to be all of the normal cutting. And I thought this was a 10 watt, so I actually have this on 10 watt settings. And still it did a good job on the 3mm wood. So I have to say I'm quite impressed with what it did on the universal test card here. But yeah, I mean everything came out really nice on this, and then like I said, I went ahead and ran the grayscale separately. All right, so that finishes the universal test card, which I've made some changes to. I'm also gonna move this camera, so give me a second. Of course, nothing's going to work properly as I do this. All right, so let's see what we come up with here. And the 3mm plywood was a clean cut. Looks like everything came out very easily, perfectly, as I suspected. I'll take this piece out. A couple of little pieces sort of still stuck in there, but they are cut all the way through. But let's take a look at it. So we've got excuse me, we've got the 3mm plywood. It's a nice clean cut. Hopefully this thing will focus. There we go. And what I did differently this time was I put some really fine engravings or images, vectors on here, so I could see how they would come out. And they came out absolutely beautiful, as well as every cut came out good. Square, circle, exactly what I expected. The flex cuts, they all work, as you can see. So there's a couple of little leftover pieces in here. Probably best way to get them out is from the back, and using my finger is probably not the best way to do this. You just pop them out with a pen like that. So those just didn't fall out on their own, and that's quite common. They were cut all the way through though. Oh, that one right there is stubborn. I don't even know why I'm taking the time to do that, but they did all cut cleanly through, as you can see right there. So yeah, this is a really nice universal test card here. Very nice. I'm going to do the grayscale one next. Alright, so I got my little pen jig that I made, and you can use anything for this. You can even use a roller. Just set it on top of the roller. And I'm going to go ahead and, on this Genmitsu, I'm going to go ahead and run this at, let me see. I think I got it, yeah, got it at 2075. So let's go ahead and start the job. I've already framed it, so you know, I know that it's going to come out perfect. And I use my little framing square here on the bed so that I can pull the workpiece in and out and just put it right back up against it again when I need to do it one more time. And these are relatively quick. They take about a minute, maybe 2 minutes at top. No, I don't even think it's 2 minutes. Maybe about a minute. And I like to do these on the diode laser because they just come out so much nicer than they do on the CO2. The CO2 sort of gives you a non-burned look, if you know what I'm talking about. It almost matches the color of the pen. So it doesn't really do it justice. But on the diode, if you use like a 5 watt, or even if you're using a 10 watt, set it at a very low power, and it comes out really nice, a nice clean burn. Doesn't have to be cleaned up afterwards or anything like that. It's just, you know, a really nice clean burn. And this will be finished in just a few seconds, and you'll get to see what it looks like on the 5 watt. There it goes. So there we go. That's the finished product. And I think it looks really nice. So now I'm just going to flip it over and do it on the other side. And then it'll be on both sides. All right, next up is the acrylic test. I just did a lightburn dragon that I did last Christmas time, I think it was. And I did this with a crosshatch. And basically I just wanted to see how this works on the acrylic itself. And this is 3mm acrylic and how it cuts out. So I'm just going to run this hyperlapse video for you here, and I will show you the results a little bit later on. All right, so there we go. That's pretty much everything on it. Let me cover some of the things that I've done here. And I've done a lot of different projects on this machine since I got it. I didn't record all of them just because I didn't think it was necessary. But this is the original material, the UTC that I did on it, that I showed you already in the video. I broke one of these out by mistake. But, you know, every circle is a circle, every square is a square. There's no problems with the lead-ins or lead-outs on any of that. The engraving is super fine, did a great job. You know, of course, this is not 10 watt like it says there. It's 5 watt. But it performed like a 10 watt. I mean, you know, this is 3mm, 3-ply plywood. And it did just a great job on it without any question whatsoever. I also did do my my newest standard. I did a 10mm cut, and it did just perfectly on these cookies that I have. So it did a good job on that as well. I did make the engraving a little bit larger on this one to try and give it a better fair test. And it did pretty well. I think if I would have slowed the speed a little bit, I would have got better results. But I did get, you probably can't see it in the video, I did get from about 10 to 80% on the grayscale test on this. So the grayscale did fine. If I would have changed the speed to 2,100 instead of 3,100, I think it would have been much better that way. The acrylic came out just fine. I mean, did a beautiful job. I showed you this video on this piece of acrylic. I also did one of my business cards, which you're probably not going to see on this camera, but I did that in the 3mm acrylic as well. Came out nice. And I did just a whole bunch of different projects on this. In one of the videos you probably saw in the background, I'll put a picture up here of it, a mirror that I did for someone, and that worked flawlessly. I mean, everything about this machine has performed flawlessly, so I have to say that. Now, there are some little things about it that may take some getting used to. The manual that I got was terrible, but they've revamped all of that for the final release. Like I said earlier, based on the beta testers' results, they've made 17 different improvements to this, which is unheard of, okay? I want to explain something to you about these laser companies and the reason they send us these machines to review. You know, we review them so that you can see how they perform for us. But they're sending us these machines so that they can market them and get them out in front of as many people as they possibly can, especially audiences on YouTube. This company actually surprised me. The way they took our feedback and modified the laser based on our feedback. So that's something that I've never seen before. Well, I will say that Ortur does listen to their customers as well, but not like this. I mean, where they did 17 upgrades to this based on the feedback from the beta testers. That's unheard of. So that gives me a lot of confidence in the company. I really like the machine. I like the way it's, you know, beefy, the way it feels, the weight to it, the C channel. You know, I love the fact that there are no wheels on this. There are no V wheels on this. There are no stainless wheels on this. You know, it's just like my CO2. So you have the linear tracks, and you know, it rides on the linear tracks, and it's really smooth operation. The accuracy on it is pinpoint, perfect accuracy. I know I didn't do as many videos on this as I do with others, but trust me, folks, I've done a lot of work on this laser, making projects with it, and it has performed flawlessly. It has not failed me, not even one time, which is very unusual. Usually you'll have 1, 2, 3 fails when you're getting started with a laser that you've never used before. This has not failed me one time. I was very impressed from the moment that I pressed the power on button until I pressed the power off for the last time, and now it's sitting over here on right behind me on top of my CO2. It is a laser that I will be using in the future, even though it's 5.5 watts. Look, you know, this whole 10 watt, 20 watt, you know, frenzy that's happening right now, power, is not super necessary in this hobby. I worked with a 5.5 watt laser for a long time to do my engraving. I had multiple ortur lasers that were all 5.5 watts, and I did production work with them, and they worked perfectly. And this one works just as good, and there really is no need to have, you know, 10 and 20 watts and everything else if you're just engraving. Now, if you're going to be doing a lot of cutting, that's different. Maybe you'll want to look for a 10 or maybe even one of the new 20 watts that's coming out on the market right now. But for your typical hobbyist, 5.5 watt laser works perfectly, in my opinion, and it worked perfectly for me in the past. It's worked perfectly for, you know, hundreds of thousands of people in the hobby. So if you're looking for a budget model, you know, that has everything super high class, you know, a really nice built laser with all the latest modifications that you don't see in most lasers, in a budget price, I mean, this is definitely the way to go. I don't recommend lasers usually, but I think I would recommend this one. I think, out of all the lasers that I've been engraving, I would probably recommend the longer Ray 5. I really like that one. The NJ3 Max, I really like that one. And I'll put this one on my list of lasers that I would recommend as well. And that's just because of the way that it performed. I had no issues with it whatsoever. The firmware inside their software package that they send you, they've got a firmware installer. I'll cover that in a second. All of the information that you're going to need. Now, we were limited in the beta on, instructions and things like that, so we had to figure everything out on our own. But now it's a complete package where it comes with, good instructions. It comes with a good firmware updater, and you don't have to worry about that. And speaking of the firmware updater, let me jump over to that real quick and just show you the what comes with it. All right, so we're not going to go too quick on, or too long, I should say, on this review today. So I'm going to play for you this video that came from Genmitsu. And let me make this a little bit smaller. So this is the firmware upgrader. Let me pause this for a second. And what you do is you just hold this button right here for 3 seconds. And once you pass the 3-second mark, you tap the power button and it goes into update mode. Okay. So now once it's in that mode, the first thing you want to do is check and make sure that you have the CH340 driver installed by going to your device manager over here and making sure that you see it here. If you don't see it there, then you just double click the CH340 in the folder that comes with it. So, and that'll install it. But this is the firmware right here. And if you come in here, you'll see there's the updater right there. What you do is rename this original file to bin.rom. Okay, you copy it first, make a copy of it, rename it to rom.bin, excuse me. Start this little updater right here, click start upgrade, and that's basically it. That's all you have to do. And you're finished. And all you do is just power off the machine. The upgrade to the firmware is done. All right, so that's about it. That covers just about everything that I can think of. There's so much value in this machine, and especially so much innovation, things that we've never seen before in a hobby diode laser, that and it performs so well that I think I would recommend this, like I said earlier. So if you're in the market for a 5-watt hobby diode laser, and you're on a budget, I think this one is definitely going to get a big thumbs up from me. And by the way, this is going to be the July raffle laser, so make sure you enter. You can enter every day for the whole month of July to win one of these for free. They're also sponsoring a giveaway. So this laser is now available on Amazon. I'll put a link down below in the description if you want to buy this laser. Like I said, in my opinion, it's definitely worth buying. One of the few ones that I will recommend, even though I got it in its beta form. Just the fact that the company was stood so behind us during the beta testing and valued our input so much that they made all of those changes based on what we recommended, really impressed me, and really makes me think that this laser is going to be around for a long time. And I think this is going to be a very durable laser, because you're not going to have no eccentric nuts to adjust. There's once you put it together, it's put it together and use it. And I like that. I like that fact that there's no adjustments that need to be made in 10 different places. And for somebody who's new to lasers, the only negative thing that I can say about this laser was putting in those 2 screws on the left side of the gantry, because I couldn't use my handy dandy screwdriver. I had to use their supplied Allen wrench, and the screws are recessed inside that, inside 2 holes. So, but I did find a fix for that though. I took their Allen wrench and I put a magnet on the end of it. And believe it or not, that screw stuck right to the end, and I stuck it in and it worked out well. So I was able to solve that problem. That's the only negative thing that I found on this laser. And again, it's very unusual to set up a laser for the first time, especially that's something that's a brand new product, never been seen before, beta model. I was expecting to have lots and lots of problems with this, and that just never panned out. So, yeah, very happy with this. I think this would be a good buy if you're in the market for a 5-watt laser. And that's basically all I can say about it. So anyway, hopefully this was a shorter review today. Well, no, I guess not really, because I do too much talking. But yeah, that's about it. I hope you enjoyed the video today. I had a good time making it. I had fun using it for the last couple of months. I made a lot of projects with it. It worked really, it performed flawlessly. So I had a good time making it. I hope you enjoyed the video. And as always, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.